here on your it's Black Spring with Autumn here on your Thursday it is. So I know it's a little bit dark in here, but don't panic. I think we should walk a bit more by sight, but it's me, it's really me. And at some point I'll come into the light. I'll come into the light. So just checking in with you guys. I just had a few thoughts. I'm starting up the day around here. I hope you guys are doing well. And I wanted to, kind of want to speak a little bit, a little bit simply, well, I didn't mean to start out with that. No, that's not what I'm on about this Thursday morning, but I do want to come on just a bit. So I want to give you guys a few seconds to come in. For starters, I don't know, I've delayed coming in and speaking about this, but I've talked about illusions. I've talked about how this whole thing, I've talked about, I feel like there's a very fraternal kind of, dare I say, a Rome 2.0 scripted thing going on here. There's also some very disturbing things. That entire reopening of Notre Dame, the reopening of that alone, shout out to Mr. Pearson. And there's been another content creator that went through that entire thing about that we'll go into that another time. That's an entirely different video, but I just want to talk about this. Good morning, Joseph Francis Burton. And so let's just go with it. So I just want to start out with, I don't know if you guys, if you go down memory lane with me just a little bit, but you guys remember there was back, about 4 years ago, I guess, or 5 years ago, about the celebs and, here, I should have entitled the stream either Kiss the Ring or Mass Exodus. That was originally going to be the title of the stream. Kiss the Ring or Mass Exodus. And so with that said, that brings me to, I guess I'm a little bit behind on this, but between Zuckerberg and I think I've heard of maybe Stallone, a lot of these celeb types were down at Mar-a-Lago, or so it's from. I'm pretty sure that's Italian. I'm pretty sure that's what that Mar-a-Lago, the Lago part at least. Maybe possibly the entire thing, but I'm not on etymology this morning. It's not an etymology stream, but thank you. Yes, so I'm just thinking, here again, I think we're back to illusions. I always make this, Rome 2.0. It's just, even in, it's almost like, and there's one particular film that I always go back to, almost always, let me change that I go back to it regularly, and it's Gladiator. And it's because it seems like to me on TV, we're actually dealing with, that's our bread bowl circus. So when we have these personalities that are, it's almost like in some ways there's some irony here, because when we've talked about one of the streams that I did before, I talked about what I thought Musk's role was going to be. I told you I mentioned him as a prototype, but at the same time, as a prototype, it's almost like many Americans will even embrace him as one of their own, almost like, the Romans would embrace these gladiators and maybe look to them as more of one of their own, as more, at more than a actual, a potential defector or a potential outlander. And that's why I think that we're getting here. I'm just thinking this whole thing that's playing out, these optics that are playing out, is more like It's like there's a new scene, and it's so funny that there's a Gladiator 2 in the same time, but there is a Gladiator 2. There is a Rome 2.0, a Gladiator 2.0. There is a Rome 2.0. So this is my analysis of, for the morning. So what I'm saying is that these are comparative tropes that I've come up with, but I think we're watching a scene in the Colosseum in which we have these for the people type, because in the movie Gladiator, you had, these, the prisoners that became the prisoner that became a slave that becomes a prisoner. They eventually, the people or the mob are so, I don't want to undercut the mob just yet. The people are so fed up, or the people are so, they're at a point of desperation that they will accept. They'll accept a hero. They may not. We don't. We the American people, we never see the wars abroad. We never do. But when we see these politicians, so to speak, in the Colosseum and in the ring, we cheer them on. We cheer them on just the same. We cheer them on just the same. I mean, do we actually care about the wars in in the Middle East and all of these? Do we care about those? We don't see the battles. We don't see the wars. We get the narrative. We're told that it's all about democracy and liberating people all over the world. We get the narrative, but there's some, even in some of the other, whether I can call it historical fiction or not, they talk about how the wars at home, wars abroad keep the peace at home. Well, when that's not working anymore, what do? That makes me think, what do? We're gonna bring the wars, we're gonna bring the illusions to the bread bowls and circuses. That's your television, ladies and gentlemen. So when I see, all these celebs talk, I'm gonna go to Greenland and live if Trump becomes president, or I'm going to go to the independent states of Micronesia. That's what I think. It's just more illusions. It's more illusions. So then you have Zuckerberg, do I think Zuckerberg genuinely turned over a new leaf? No. I'm sitting here again. We're talking illusions. I do believe that most of what happened previously, there's always been a greater plan, an orchestration. So they already knew how this was going to play out. This is, what is it? Alfred Hitchcock, there was an essay that was written on Let Them Play God, because they're the ones that already know. They're the ones thinking they're playing God. They're the ones these elite are the ones with the God complex. They already know more than we do. So they already know what's going to happen to the people these gladiators and these politicians in the circle, in the Colosseum, before we do. So the suspense is much more thrilling and riveting to them, because they already know what's happening. They've got the upper hand because they wrote the script. They've been a part of the script. They've been a part of the orchestration. All we do is sit back and say, hey, let's get your, that's when people say, get your popcorn ready and get this and that ready, because that's what I think we're literally watching something that's much more orchestrated. And I would even venture to say, shout out to Mr. Pearson, that is probably on a different calendar. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that they felt that time itself has been warped a little bit for some time. And I agree with that. I agree that time has probably been warped for a while. But, we were not that particular calendar here again. You've got, this is dripping with Rome, Babylonian, and biblical and pre-biblical Yeah, references. It's just there. It reeks. So I'm just saying. So I'm like, okay. So is it entertaining? I don't. I don't think so. I just, to me, it's much more impactful the way that the people respond to what they see. I think a lot of people think that we've got this, hey, a lot of people, a lot of these decoders out here, they've got a heck of a lot more to say about this thing than me, according to the numbers. Some people say, hey, I ain't following these numbers for, but numbers are important. The Bible has, we had a whole book of numbers. So do I discount the numbers? No, that's not my shtick. That's not my domain. But I do think that more and more, I'm just thinking like, just say, when I hear I'm going back to Gladiator. When I think about, Marcus Aurelius, handing off, him not passing the torch to his heir, he passed it to an outlander, an outlander that he thought the people would trust with their precious republic. Well, here again, this is what Black Spring does. Is it possible, just saying, I'm not twisting myself into a pretzel this morning, but I'm just thinking, is it possible that this country could be, in the event, I'm not putting anything out there, in the event that something were to happen or some type of dark fate for TRUMP, is it possible that the Americans that have so graciously accepted Musk, would they accept him as one of their own if there was something, if he could somehow be appointed in a way that we've never, but I think people would accept it. I do. I genuinely think people would accept it. It wouldn't be maybe not even his VP, this Vance guy. Maybe it'll be this is the wild card we're looking at. I think that there's a lot more. I'm talking about Musk again, but I'm using a comparative trope with Rome 2.0 and Hollywood's version of Gladiator and Rome 2.0. So I'm just wondering, is it possible that we could be, that, he could serve somewhere else, serve something else? Because a lot of times, just think about it. When I think back into history, of course, there were a lot of corrupt things that were going on in Rome. And many people might have thought their republic was lazy. And I think, the Caesar of the day, a lot of his right-hand people or his appointees or his advisors would know more about what his intentions were or what his desires were. They would know more than a senator or a prefect or somebody that was, politically seasoned or had already been corrupted by the explicit line of politics. Good morning. Let me just say good morning to John Roberts is here. Anarchy Television is here. Let me read a comment from Anarchy Television. So, put it in the comment section. I do this, I've been on about this for a while, but I just think that because, people are starting to see through I don't know if people are starting to see through some of the corrupt illusions, but I think it could only get more corrupt. That's unfortunately, if that's what I'm on about here. So let's go with Anarchy Television says, unfortunately, too many people have the occult of personality disease, and they will want celebrities or leaders. Thank you for that. I love it. I love it. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Anarchy Television. Unfortunately, you're absolutely correct. They will want it, they just want to be, I don't know, they want to be closer to something that's not I think, like I said, but I also have talked about how, just like Rome, like the American people, the memory is very, very fickle. And they want to call it, in the media, you've heard it, oh well, Americans are very forgiving. The same thing. Like, I mean, let me do a little bit of a detour here, if you will, a sharp detour or a veer here to the left, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I remember Karine Jean-Pierre getting up and saying, oh yeah, the Americans, 64% of the Americans agree with Joe Biden and his son. And then allegedly she gets a sharp, rebuke that, no, you flipped that. That was the Democrats that, so, I honestly, and then she comes out here dropping, what's his name, Clyburn. I'm like, and these people, and that person is supposed to mean something to whom? None of these people mean anything to me. They're all going to say what they want to say. They're all going to say what they need to say to remain in power. A lot of these people have, to me, their Ivy League colleges and their white towers and all of this stuff. They all have PhDs in chicanery, if you ask me. So I'm not gonna, like I said, I endure the gaggles from Jean-Pierre, and I've endured a lot of those White House press meetings, like weekly. I have, and it's always the same thing with her. She speaks with a whole bunch of body language and just completely. You will not. No one will convince me that was the best person that they could come up with. But there again, she had a role too. She had a very specific role. And I guess she's done, I guess she's done. And, what's the difference? Okay. Sometimes, if people are lying so much, if they're complete narcissists, they believe their own lies. And she actually believes the things that she's saying. And even though, I take issue with here's the thing with this country, this is my observation, that when they choose a person or people of color, when they do that, it's typically not someone that has grown up and, gone through the public school systems and have, had working class type, families, or it's typically not that person. If I'm not mistaken, Jean-Pierre has Haitian background. I think maybe they moved to the States when she was a young girl. But typically, I find that when they bring people in from with the extra melanated, when they bring those melanated people in, they typically have they don't have any loyalty, or they don't share any cultural values. Like, they're gonna do whatever they're told. It's easy. It's so much easier for them to be manipulated or to be a tool to advance any agenda, because they come from places in which they've only seen America on TV, or they've read about America. They don't, she's not coming from some long, she might be first generation Haitian from her family, but she's not going to be, just like when they put Kamala Harris up there, she's not going to be. And who knows, what in the hell is a de facto, quote, black person anyway, when all of this crap all of these constructs are manufactured and made up by the people with the people that create the positions. It's all created by the same people who are destroying those people. The same sword that they use to fight with is the same sword that could be used to destroy them, because they created a lot of it. And I noticed, here's another revelation of mine. I noticed that the Ivy League schools really praise the Marxist. I mean, historically, I can go back to like just about every quote civil rights activist, artist, singer, dancer, football player. They all have the same lineage, the same type of pedigree, and it's pretty much it's Marxist. It's pretty. That is the tie that binds. That is the cohesion between all of these personalities. But I found it very interesting that most of the Columbias, the Frankfurt schools, and many of those schools they absolutely exalt, quote, people of color, black people, for their Marxism and for basically for promoting their agendas, or for them, they'll bring you onto their faculty, onto their sociology departments. They don't have any people that are, that are not red team, blue team. They're going to bring their people on. And they bring their people on to be on the faculties. Like when I think about the Angela Davises and the W.E. Du Bois, or many of these people, they've given up their citizenship for the Soviet. They've done. I'm telling you, it's just not, and that never comes out. That rarely ever comes out. I think I've heard, what is it? Of course, Chad O. Jackson talking about it. There's some other groups out here that know about it. I mean, it's just the way that black people have been, the people that have been exalted, they're not exalted on pure, dare I say, talent, or pure just, they didn't get there just by, walking the straight and narrow and, pulling the bootstraps up. They didn't get there like that. To me, here again, it's another fraternal partnership. That's what it is. Anarchy Television says you'll understand more when you read the 45 Goals of the Communist Party that was read into congressional record back in 1963. Well, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, and then there's another thing. There's no talk about. America doesn't talk about. America had its own Communist Party. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're still up and running. And to me, that's what the Dems are. They can reimagine themselves all they want, but that's not what they are. That's not what they are. They use the same tactics, the plight of the people have a grievance, the people have a plight. Like "We Shall Overcome" didn't even originate here. It was used somewhere else before it even came to the States. So that was not de facto civil rights. No, it wasn't. I think that's a whole bunch of liberal globalist crap, which, they had their own goal, and the goal is the same. It's the same. No more than I believe that any of these people, like the Orwells and the futuristic types of literature that were written, I don't believe those things are all just, oh, you mean to tell me these people had a dream one night and they just came up with all of this? I mean, if I go back to modernism, you could already see. You can see it crumbling already. Okay, people are okay. We're done with the BS. Now let's talk reality. Let's talk about let's talk about where we know this thing is going. Let's talk about it. So I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. It is a Thursday morning, and I know I've gone anti-Marxist. And I originally came on to just say, hey, there's no authentic mass exodus by the celebrities versus the kiss the ring celebrities. These are the same people. The same people. Zuckerberg and his comment about Trump being his response to, due to the attack being the most badass thing he's ever seen. I mean, seriously, I feel like I'm standing in a room of, like a college forum when I hear that kind of stuff. It's got to be. It's got to be. Joseph Francis Burton says, "Oh, come on, we are, but I don't know how much we represents you. I don't, I don't know if we can say that. I don't know if that's fair. I think that's a bunch of. That was probably some irony. That whole tune was probably an irony. That was a little bit of situational irony in which that song was written, because actually we're not, because you guys remember that group or that movement that was called One during the demic, the CV19, and all those celebs that got together and, oh, we're gonna put on a global citizen concert, yeah, that you guys are, it's the same crap, it's the same thing. So yeah, they knew what was coming. They knew. You only have a few survivors from even that era, I believe. Anarchy Television said democracy is the true threat to the constitutional republic, but I think we should go further right than even libertarianism. True freedom of true anarchy is where we should all go worldwide. But he goes on to say, but totalitarianism is spreading far and wide. Joseph Francis Burton says, no, I do not remember that. I remember when they all sang Imagine, it was glorious, celebrities care. Well, this was I remember, what was that, Ariana Grande? I cannot stand these celebrities. I absolutely cannot. I remember, and then what was her name? She was, you're a firework, come on, show 'em what you work, whatever this girl's name was. She was a part of it. Lady Gaga. Yeah, Lady Gaga. A lot of those celebs got together and they had this, it was a virtual, like a global concert that they held. And to me, We Are the World, to me, was just probably another piece of that. They knew what they were talking about. They knew what they were on about long before, because that was done in the 80s, and a whole bunch of celebrities collaborated. I remember Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Cyndi Lauper, Eric Clapton, that generation, okay, folks? That generation of people recorded that We Are the World. But that one concert that they did, the virtual one, they did a virtual one, and then I think they ended up following it up with a live one concert. Because you remember at that time, what was it? At Home Together, something, Stay at Home. It was very bizarre. Derek C. Williams, Derek C. Williams, if you're in the sound of the stream, or if you hear this replay, yeah, jog our memory on those slogans, because I had to stop the trolls and the bots from coming into my stream, hashtagging it. I mean, it's like, listen, don't come in and try to just control. Don't bring your tricks, your politics into my stream. Don't do it. Yeah, well, this one was a big star-studded one. I mean, their big star-studded ones, and yeah, I'm sure it'll come up again. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Well, just maybe I've said something thought-provoking. If not, then you'll carry on your Thursday. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and have a great Thursday. We'll see. It looks like, here to this end, back to the end that we started. It looks like Zuckerberg's going to donate $1 million to Trump's. Listen, because what was it? The threat of Trump threatening to put him in jail if he interfered with this particular one. So, honestly, just keep your popcorn ready. Just keep the Colonel's popcorn ready, or Jiffy Pop, or whatever you do. If you're old school, you've got that popcorn popper where you actually have to put the oil in it and let it warm up, and then yeah, just enjoy the show. But for now, you guys have a great start to your Thursday.